Finger plucking. Wow.
You don't want to get that wrong.
Socky, we've been able to draft him across the border. Yes, exactly. Wow,
Can you
Barney.
remember when Brendan Julian had to do the Frank Worrell Trophy?
No.
He presented the Frank Worrell Trophy as the Wank Forrell. Well done, BJ, if you're listening,
You're
mate.
not human if you haven't done something like that on stage. Do you know what, guys, really briefly, my very first bulletin when I was like 17 for a radio station in Western Sydney, I said, and this is when I was news reading, not sport, in this ridiculous voice where I never thought I'd ever end up in radio. It was, the state government is introducing cunting futs. And it was Richard the Love God was the dude on air. What do you call it? The DJ. He fell off his chair laughing.
Oh,
I'm looking around
word.
thinking, well, do I continue or should I pack my bags and leave now? But anyway,
wow.
all these years later, we're good.
Carry on.
I was on Fox. We used to do a magazine show each week, NRL on Fox on Wednesday nights.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was 2006, and Gary the Wiz Freeman and Warren Smith were on the show, and we're on the panel, and he said, and the Titans are about to start, and I was at the Titans, and he said, how come John Cartwright is the head coach? Your father-in-law, Socky. And he said, and I said, oh, well, you know, he's played under some great coaches, Phil Gould, and he's coached under some great coaches. Ricky Stewart won a comp in 2002 and 3 grand finals. So he's the perfect man for a head, like,
Head.
yeah. And this is live, and I froze for like 3 seconds, and then we continued. And Warren Smith said, we've got to go to a break. And we came back, and I still remember looking at Warren Smith and Wiz Freeman, and they still had the tear marks in their makeup down their face. Yeah, so we've all had those moments.
Be honest, too, when you're on air and you make that sort of mistake, that 3 seconds you froze for, it doesn't feel like 3 seconds, does it?
No, it feels like half an hour.
Fletch just gets away with it every afternoon.
Can I just clarify? I didn't swear then. It was not the F word. I absolutely did not say that.
We
I
had
just got a
Daddy Vass
text
looking
from
for the
someone.
dump button.
I absolutely
Dump it.
If I could spell it, how would I spell it? It was F-U-T.
No, it's all good. You're all good. Yeah, it's fine, Bish.
No, I would never swear on air.
Just move on,
where
Bish.
am I taking this
Just
show
move on.
Let's talk
Take it easy,
Pacific
man.
Championships. Let's
Yes.
talk Pacific Championships so the tourist doesn't have to go and have a shower. I think he thought I swore, but anyway. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, guys, at the moment on the Pacific Championships? Now I've completely lost.
You're rattled. You
You're
are
absolutely rattled
Is
here.
Michelle
I
Bishop
never get
rattled?
rattled.
Yeah. She's rattled, boys.
She's rattled.
100% yes.
Yeah, what he said.
Hey, Pacific Championships. I thought the Kiwis, they were brave last week, but they didn't look like they were going to score a lot of points. They just, the way they picked their side, I think Sean Johnson was just, he played in a dinner suit, and so there wasn't going to be too many opportunities. So, I thought the Aussies just did what they had to do, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't an overwhelming win, was it? Like it didn't.
No.
Well, it didn't stamp an authority. It was a. It was.
Well, they defended really well for long periods of time, but then in saying that, they weren't put under a lot of pressure as well. Joey Tarpany was good. Again, he was awesome for the Kiwis.
He's great. What did you make?
Interesting one.
Sorry, what did you make of the battle between Zac Lomax and Will Warbrick? I kind of liked watching that contest out on the wing.
Yeah, I the day that I say I'm looking forward to two wingers playing up against each other is the day that I've got to go 6 foot under. But Matty Rogers isn't listening, which is good. But it's right, yeah. Zach, we spoke about it last night. If you lined up all the best wingers in the NRL right now, Brian To'o, Will Warbrick, Xavier Coates, and you can only pick one winger and they're all on the open market, would Zac Lomax be your number one pick?
Well, this is the bizarre, because I was going to throw this question to you. What are you making of the fact now that he'll play anywhere? I mean, he was so adamant about he wanted to play in the centres, and now this move to Parramatta, it's all a bit bizarre. I'd love Zac Lomax on the wing.
Well, so do I, but, I mean...
You don't get fullback money.
No one really
on the
chooses
wing,
to play on the wing, do they? Like,
no, they do. They don't. You're right.
Yeah.
It's
It's
interesting.
changed the way that we pick wingers. Given that, I think Zac Lomax has moved the game forward the way that he's gone about playing on the wing. But you watch him, his special efforts, and you think, wow, he's got to get his hands on the ball a little bit more. He can't just.
Well,
do
wingers
that
touch the ball more than centres these days.
They do, but a lot of it's the tough carries out.
they do,
the
actually,
eyes inside the 20, and Well, speaking of good guys who can transition, Turbo I think's playing well for the Aussies. He reminds me of like a Lionel Messi when they play soccer. Just a graceful mover with the ball. Doesn't look like he's going at.
He could play 5'8". He could play anywhere.
Yeah, he's just a great natural footballer. So
I know the Kiwis, they're the favourites this week against Tonga. I'm not
convinced.
I'm not convinced.
They could be playing in the bowl off.
Might have a flutter.
Get relegated.
Gamble
Can I just
responsibly.
ask you this question, Sats? It was interesting to hear that the Kangaroos have broken camp. The word was welfare was tossed about. I'm a little bit unsure as to whether I like that or I don't. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I just would more put it down to budgets and money. Not having to, house them for the next week or so. Well, they go back into camp on Sunday. So I found that an interesting one.
Depends how happy your marriage is or your home life.
Right, okay.
So
I wouldn't be breaking. I'd be staying in camp. Thanks, Bish.
There'd be some people who would say, please don't send me home.
Right.
There's some saying, I can't wait to
like
get
a
home.
vote.
I want to see the misso and the kids and give them a kiss and take the dogs for a walk. I get that.
Right, okay. Yep.
But there's some times where you just want to stay in camp. It's the best time on earth.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of a time there was I went away on a cricket trip and we're away and we had the choice of going back home into Sydney and then flying to Perth or just going straight to Perth. We're in Hobart, I think. And one of my fellow teammates had just started a relationship, only been in it for a week, but had found someone on the dance. Well, he just found someone on the dance floor who'd given him a Reuben Wiki on the side of the neck.
Oh no!
He's gone. Look, I'll pay whatever it costs. Get me to Perth a week earlier, so I don't have to go home in the skivvy and the collar up to hide it from the new missus. So he was in.
And you don't like Perth Soks, so it would have been weird for you to offer that.
Yeah, he goes by the name of Sok, but I'm not naming any names.
Hey, I've got a conundrum.
Okay.
I've got a scenario. Can I?
Yep.
It's been playing on my mind the last 24 hours. So I'm at a set of lights turning right. It's a red arrow, and I'm the first car with cars behind me. And if you enter that what is it when it
intersection?
Intersection,
Yeah.
Red light camera.
Okay.
Yep. Red light camera. So all of a sudden, ambulance comes up behind.
Yep.
It's got to turn right. I want to go forward, but if I go forward, I get a red light camera. I get a ticket.
Yeah.
What do I do?
You know what? I'd love to say to you that the normal thing you would do is move forward. There's a rush or whatever, but the heartache that you'd have to go through and the different procedures and levels and conversations and emails to get out of it, I probably would have stayed behind the white line.
I did. I stayed behind the white line. It's been playing on my mind for 24 hours.
As the guy whose loved one was waiting for the ambulance.
Yeah, Beryl. Rest in peace, Beryl.
I'm cruel.
Yeah. No, go. I think you're fine to go into the intersection there because the camera will get you, but it'll also get the ambulance.
But
it'll
you'll
get
still
the red light.
someone that'll have to get you anyway. Look, I just really want to ask you, Sok, who is going to open for Australia? It seems to be down to 4 at the moment. Is it Sam, Nathan, Marcus, Cam? What's doing? Give me something.
Mick Sweeney. Like, if I just had to
Really?
pick one
Nathan
right
McSweeney.
now, I think they're just looking for an excuse to pick him. I think his form has been outstanding. He was in the shadow of the Greek god Constus is coming through this young...
Greek freak.
That's what I was looking for. In that same game, Mick Sweeney got run out for 50 and made 100 in the second innings against Nathan Lyon. Tanvi Sanger, both very good spinners. I think if he does well in these A games, he'll be their next guy. He's a captain, so he shows leadership qualities. He's been winning games. Star in the BBL. He's a player of the future, which they're desperately in need of. Otherwise, his team's looking a bit like a dad's army. So I'm going to put my money on Nathan McSweeney.
Hey, just on that.
Gamble responsibly.
We're talking a lot about the opener spot, but realistically, Usman Khawaja he's sort of closer to the end of his career.
Yeah, we're looking for 2, aren't we, really?
Oh, do we have to go through this whole scenario again next summer, please?
It can't be more than 2 summers away, I wouldn't have thought. What are you're fairly plugged in with the cricket world still, mate. You know all these blokes. What are you hearing? Do you think we're looking sooner rather than later?
Well, Davey Warner's put his hand up. So.
Get him back.
Yeah, Davey's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's have him back.
Yep.
Why not? Have as many farewells as you want.
Oh.
Is that you putting your hand up to come play for the Sixers again this year, mate?
I was reading some comments from George actually talking about left arm finger spinners. He's like, there's not a lot going around at the moment. And I did have a think about it, but then I just had a good look in the mirror and I was in my undies and a bowl of nachos on my stomach. And I'm about 15 kilos heavy. And I thought, who are you kidding? You look like Walter White out of Breaking Bad, just staring at a
In
blank
your Y-fronts.
TV screen in my Y-fronts.
Breaking Bad. That'd be the
yeah,
first
breaking-
time you break one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, look, I think both sides. That's the interesting thing with this tour of India, which is so big for both teams for many reasons. 5 tests. India's team's very ageing. The Australian team's very ageing. And we were talking about it yesterday. You know, Bancroft and Harris into their 30s, probably, you know, getting closer towards the back end than they are at the start of their careers.
Yeah, they've had their time.
However, you can pick these guys and still get 20 or 30 good tests out of them. So, yeah, if Uzi does go and form and age creeps up with him like any player has, and it does in the past, you've got guys who are hardened first-class cricketers in Harris and Bancroft. They're ready to go. Throw in Renshaw, throw in Maddinson if you want a couple of extra names, the Greek freak. So I think it's a good problem the selectors have. How they go about it, well, George has been very good so far with
I'm
his
more
selections.
concerned about the depth in our bowling
I agree.
in 3
Ooh.
years' time.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
they're all in their mid 33s, 35s, 36s.
Yeah, the Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood era. You know,
Even Nisa, he's in his 30s.
Scotty Boland.
Scotty Boland.
Mid-30s.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of guys who are putting their hand up.
Joe Richardson.
Yeah, injury prone. So, yeah, I think it's an ageing team, but I think, as I was saying to Sats only earlier, you know, we haven't beaten them, India, at home for 10 years. So 5 tests instead of 4, so that, you know, there should be a definite winner, hopefully with result wickets, which we have in Australia. So pretty pumped. And, of course, we've got the women's test as well down in Melbourne. So 6 tests this summer. Look out. More
Sats, I want to
nachos and
just
Yeah.
quickly head back to rugby league and get your thoughts on. So it's been in a 22-year hiatus, the Australian Kangaroo Tour to contest the Ashes in England. It's being planned
Yes.
for next year. It's called the Ashes. I've been sort of tried to be corrected on that on air.
So people call it Kangaroo
bit of a
Tours.
sore
The
point.
last Kangaroo Tour officially was 1994 when they go and play all the county teams and then the test matches and then they go to France as well. And then the Ashes Tour was sort of, I think that was defunct in about 2006, I think it was.
Something
Maybe
like that.
something
Yep.
like that. Yeah, but
Yeah, you're right.
are you
But
going to
first
say, do
played
I
in
like it?
1908, had a bit of
It
history.
was.
But what are your thoughts? What do you think it's
I love it.
a good idea?
I love it. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd love to get the Kangaroo Tour back, but I don't think it's ever going to happen ever again because of player welfare and burnout, whatever, all that garbage. You know, like Terry Lamb played every game on the Kangaroo Tour, every game. Yeah. So, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I love the Ashes. We're only talking about Socky and I. There's nothing better than waking up at whatever, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning and watching those test matches against Great Britain.
Oh, yeah.
Outstanding. Yeah, so I'm glad it's back. I actually go back to the Monday after our grand final in 2003. That was the last Ashes tour. And they announced the team over the speakers in the pub at the Peachtree Hotel. And at that stage, Trent Waterhouse was asleep on the pool table. They had to wake him up.
That's out at Penrith, isn't it?
Yeah. They had to wake him up to tell him that he'd been picked in an Australian team after only about 25 first grade games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What a
75 schooners.
Oh, there's not too many blokes that wake up to good news on a pool table in a pub.
I know.
Either. That's
Yeah. That was the same day that James Hooper was working for the Telegraph, and Paul Kent came out to finish off a story because they couldn't find him for 2 days. He was asleep in the cubicle at the Peachtree Hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just before we let you go, the
Yep.
player agency stuff, very
Yep.
busy. You've been very, very busy. Tell us about that.
It's it's just something I've not always wanted to do, but it's something my father always tried to say to me. You need to offer another option to players of what the current model is, and it's not to disrupt anything. It's just about to give options to players, guys. So.
I think
Just
it's
hoping the
great.
players can sort of save a little bit more money than what they're meant to earn, rather than paying annual fees. So it's going to be a slow burn, which I anticipate, but that's okay. Time's something I've got.
all right, boys. Time is something we're running out of on the show
Yes.
today. You
I
guys
could talk all day to you two.
you guys are following us. What's coming up on the show? You talking to Joy Arrow tonight?
We're talking to Joy Arrow. He's one of the great lads of rugby league, and Bish, you would have had a fair bit to do with him over the years. He's just such a pleasure to interview. He's just got engaged.
Great bloke.
And coming back from shoulder surgery, got a great relationship with Wayne.
Ultimate team player, because remember he put
is.
off the surgery
He
because
did.
the buddies were going through a bit of a
And-
tough time.
I've also said to him, I want you to tee off on your mate Liam Knight. So I think he's going to tee off on him as well.
Yes.
Oh, that's worth listening.
I
Yes.
like this.
We love you, Danica.
See you, crew.
See you, boys. Have a good show. Remember, you can get Sports Day straight after us.